So these vines on the right-hand side of the road are the original plantings that I established back in the mid-1990s, about 95, 6, and 7. And then to the left of the road, on the other side of this ravine and these trees, is a newer vineyard I established in around 2008, 2009. And when I established the original vineyard, I basically chose the best land that was void of trees at the time. Everything over here was a forest, and it took 10 years of me learning and figuring things out to commit myself to changing this forest into agriculture. And back in the early 1900s, when my great-grandparents first purchased this property, this actually was cleared, and they were farming it, but they were unsuccessful farming it. They were growing shallow-rooted plants, corn and grasses for hay, and it's very steep, it's very rocky soils, and it wasn't working out, and they abandoned the field. When I was a kid, it was a pine forest, so it was slowly transitioning back into a hardwood forest. In 2006, when we decided to put this back into agriculture, because I had realized through my 10, 12 years in the industry that this was potentially a great site for growing grapes. And so we came up and took down all the trees and got some soil analyses done and laid out the new vineyards. My vineyard isn't manicured, if you will, and that's on purpose. Like the grasses I'm in the process of mowing actually, but the grasses and some of the vines are a little shaggy, and it's on purpose. Well, it creates a working ecosystem, hopefully to the benefit of the planet and the vines. Everything is in kind of harmony with insects, predator-prey relationship. I stopped using herbicides to kill grasses, and that not only are you killing the grasses, but you're killing microbes in the soils, and so your soils, you have like a little dead zone around your vines, and so we've stopped that. And overall, in my head, it sounds more and seems more intuitive of what we want here, a living environment where the vines are in harmony with all the plant life and not just forced to grow well here, if you will, at the detriment of other plants. There's so many. There's this push in industry now of organic, natural wine, biodynamic, and all that is based on a natural ecosystem where good things happen and everything is in balance and in harmony. But with the world changing, with climate change, the global economy, the global trade, I'm dealing with insects and diseases that 20 years ago weren't here and aren't supposed to be here and don't have any natural predators. So the farmhouse is kind of, we can't really see the farmhouse. It's behind some trees, but that's the barn and a little corn house, and then you can also see the winery in the distance that we built in 2007. And this little valley tends to protect us somewhat from some of the smaller storms that plague the mid-Atlantic. We're not. This is still not California. We're not arid, but many times these mountains to the south, which rise to about 3,400 feet, I'll see a bank of clouds just on the south side of those ridges, and they're trying to billow over. It looks like this big wave of cloud trying to come over the mountain, and it's basically these mountains are steering a storm system around us to the east, and then it goes north. And we'll stay sunny here and dry as we'll see the rains to the south of us, and sometimes also to the north of us. The mountains. There's a mountain range over here that you can kind of see, but it's the Massanutten Range, and the mouth of the Shenandoah Valley starts up here to the north. And again, some of the storms are funneled that way around us too, so they kind of go around us, and we stay a little drier, a little sunnier and warmer, and the surrounding areas are getting rain. Many times I'll be here and we'll see dark clouds and thunderstorms, and if I drive into Front Royal, which is only 5 miles from here, it'll be a downpour of rain, and we'll come here and there's nothing. So we're standing in my original vineyard planted in the mid-90s. We actually have our Sauvignon Blanc that was planted in 1995 right here. As you can see, this is our Sauvignon Blanc, the oldest vines on the property. They are spaced 8 feet apart, and in the new vineyard all my vines are 4 feet apart, so a lot more vines per acre, a higher density planting that allows each vine to compete with one another for the available resources of water and nutrients. I also went from, originally this planting was cordon trained and spur pruned, meaning that there was a permanent trunk and a permanent cordon that grew on this fruiting wire for 4 feet this direction and 4 feet this direction until it met the next vine. About 10 years ago, I switched to cane pruning for a couple of reasons. There's an insect that likes to overwinter in the gnarly bark of the old trunks and cordons, and then the fruiting, it's a little easier in the summertime with shoot thinning and a more consistent fruit zone when you have the canes. But so I had these vines that were so wide apart, I had to be able to fill out this space. And each year you only want to lie down or put down a cane about 18 to 20 inches long. But I have 4 feet. So we devised the system. It took about 4 years to develop it. But each vine has anywhere from 3 to possibly, or 4 to possibly 8 trunks and canes. This vine here really has just still one single trunk here, but then it divides here and then it divides here. So effectively we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of permanent wood, and then everything above this is 1 year old wood that grew last year and is now this year's fruiting wood. You can see this young. This is a 1 year old cane now that's producing this year's fruit. And we have this cane here that comes out of this trunk, and then this trunk comes up and fills out this area. This trunk comes up and fills out this little area here, and then this trunk comes up and fills out this area about here. And that way we get this whole area filled with leaves, shoots, and fruit. I've been, last 4 or 5 years, I've been dialing back ripeness, meaning with the climate change, and I'm seeing changes here, earlier harvest dates, earlier bud break dates, and I'm trying to balance or slow down the sugar accumulation. Sometimes the sugars accumulate faster than flavors develop, and so we're trying to slow that down. And as sugars accumulate, your acidity is dropping. So again, I'd like to retain nice acidity in my wines, have moderate sugars, therefore moderate alcohols, but have time enough for flavors to develop. And so I leaf pull. We do all of our leaf pulling by hand, and these rows run north-south, and so they have an east and a west exposed side to the sun as it travels from the east to the west. So when we leaf pull, if you look at, this is the western exposed side of Sauvignon Blanc. We have not removed any leaves from this side of the canopy. If you look over here at this vine, this is the eastern side or eastern exposed side, and you can see the fruit is exposed. It's still early in the morning, and the sun at this time is not extremely hot. The air temperature hasn't warmed, so I'm not concerned with these these clusters being exposed. And by 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, these leaves above it are going to help shadow these grapes. But then in the afternoon, when the sun is past noon, past 1 o'clock, and it still has until 8 o'clock at night before it sets below the mountains to the west, this fruit is protected from potential sunburn and ripening at a faster rate than my eastern exposed sides. I don't know whether you can get your camera in here too, but if you'll look inside the canopy, I've leaf pulled heavily on both the east and the west, because these two planes of canopy help shade each other. And so I've opened it up on the east and in the interior of our vines, but not the western exposed sites.